Explaining the value of security spending. The greed principle states that losses that go unchecked will continue to increase over time. What that basically means is if a bad guy can steal $5 from you today, he's surely going to try and steal $10 from you tomorrow. Greed drives that behavior. So what can we do about this? Well, we invest in security controls to reduce or manage the losses. The blue line on the chart represents security spending. In theory, the more you invest, the better leverage you have in reducing the actual losses that you experience. It's not a one-to-one relationship, and it depends a lot on the efficiency of programs and the number of attacks that you have. But in general, the more money you invest, the greater influence that you have in reducing those losses. The dark green line represents the difference between the unchecked losses and the actual losses. So for any amount that you're spending in security, there should be a reduction in the amount of losses that you experience. This is the loss prevented figure. More spending isn't always better. There is a sweet spot, a level of optimal security. And as senior management, it's important for them to understand where that is and what kind of return they're getting on the investment of security controls. The light green line at the bottom represents the return on security investment. This is the loss that you prevented minus the investment in security to get there. The crossover point represents an equilibrium between the amount of money that you spend on security and the amount of loss that you prevent. Most security programs want to keep the green lines as high as possible to maximize the return on their security investment. If you go past that crossover point, it means you're spending more on security than what you're preventing. Figuring out these numbers for your organization is not easy. You do need 3 pieces of data here. You need to understand how much money you're spending on security. That can be pretty easy to figure out. The second thing that you need is your actual losses. It's a little bit more to quantify that, but at least you can have tangible data, right? You felt the pain. The third piece of data, which is quite a bit more difficult, is figuring out what your unchecked losses would be. Now, in most cases, this is obviously an estimate. If you've got a good organization that can put forth a ballpark figure, you can start running these numbers and figuring things out. Now, this model applies for an entire organization. It may also be applicable for an individual security project or a number of security projects that work in conjunction with each other. These are the basic fundamentals of measuring security: spending, loss prevented, and your unchecked losses. Those help you figure out what your return on security investment is.
Thank you for listening. This is Matthew Rosenquist. You can catch all of my rantings, blogs, white papers, and videos at communities.intel.com. Search on the keyword security.